In the last video, I told you about life in North Korean prison camps. Now we'll look at the life of the most famous North Korean refugees to escape from the camps, Shin Dong-hyuk. Shin was born as a prisoner in North Korean Camp 14 to a married couple who were granted the permission for the marriage as a reward for good work. He lived with his mother and brother but rarely saw his father as he lived in a different part of the camp and was allowed to visit them only a few times a year. When Shin turned 13, he overheard his mother and brother planning to escape the camp. He was so brainwashed by the system that he ratted them out to one of the guards because he thought that was the right thing to do, and he was also hoping that he would get rewarded. The guard informed his supervisors, but he took full credit and didn't mention anything about getting the information from Shin. So instead of being rewarded, Shin was tortured all day long because the guards thought he was also planning on escaping. They tied him to the ceilings by his ankles, and as he was hanging, the torturers started caning his back and burning his whole body with flames. On the next day, he was brought out to the field where public executions take place. He thought the guards were going to execute him, but he was wrong. He was brought out there so he could witness his mother and brother being executed. Shin didn't know anything about the outside world. He thought everyone lived in camps like his, and that some people were simply born as slaves and others as guards. But this all changed when he met another prisoner named Park. Unlike Shin, Park got to experience the outside world before being sent to prison. The two of them quickly became friends, and Park told Shin tales about life outside the camp. Eventually, they decided to try to escape. This was almost impossible because guards were constantly watching over the entire camp, which was also surrounded by an electric fence. They managed to get to the fence without being seen, and Park just decided to make a run for it. As soon as his body touched the fence, he died. Shin then took his chances and tried climbing over Park's back, and he succeeded. He got lost in the woods, but he kept traveling north and managed to find a small town where he stopped and lived for a while. While living there, he heard people talk about China and eventually decided to try to escape North Korea. He managed to cross the borders and traveled across the entire country until he got to the South Korean embassy where he was granted asylum. Later, he traveled the world and became an activist against North Korean human rights violations. He definitely had good reason for it, but as we later found out, his version of the story wasn't entirely true. Shin was born in Camp 14, but when he was 6, he and his family were moved to a less severe camp called Camp 18. He says that he managed to escape this camp but got caught and then put back in the camp where he had to endure torture for 6 months. Then, he escaped the camp again, got caught again, and this time, the punishment was being moved to Camp 14. He managed to escape this camp as well, but now without getting caught. However, another North Korean defector says that escaping from a North Korean prison so many times and remaining alive is impossible. Experts say that Shin's story sounds very believable and similar to what other defectors describe, and that his disfigured body speaks for itself. What do you think?